Bismillah walhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. So today is the 30th day of Ramadan in the year 1443 Hijrah, and today is going to be our final reminder on the importance of Tawheed. And today's reminder is going to be divided into three sections. Allah وَهُوَ الْعِلْمُ بِأَسْمَائِهِ وَصِفَاتِهِ وَفَعَالِهِ. That is knowledge, is the knowledge of Allah. وَهُوَ الْعِلْمُ بِأَسْمَائِهِ وَصِفَاتِهِ وَفَعَالِهِ. That is knowledge of His names and His attributes and His actions. Such knowledge that brings about for the one who possesses it knowledge of Allah, fear of Allah, love of Allah, awe of Allah, venerating Allah, and declaring Him to be great, and relying upon Him, and being patient, and being pleased with Him, and being preoccupied with Him as opposed to His creation. So this is the noblest type of knowledge of Allah, His names and His attributes, and it also in turn leads to these affairs of worship, uluhiyya, which are from uluhiyya, tawakkul, sabr, khawf, raja, and so on and so forth. So this is the speech of Sheikh or Al-Imam Ibn Rajab rahimahullah ta'ala, and we finish with the speech of Al-Imam Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, and he said, وعلم التوحيد هو أشرف العلوم لشرف متعلقه وعلم التوحيد هو أشرف العلوم لشرف متعلقه ولهذا سماه أهل العلم الفقه الأكبر وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم من يرد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. The knowledge of Tawheed is the noblest types of knowledge due to the nobility of what it is connected to, or what it pertains to. And for this reason the people of knowledge called it Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, the greater understanding. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, to whomsoever Allah intends to show goodness, He gives him understanding of the religion. And so this is the speech of Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, and from the statements of all of these scholars we can see that Tawheed is ashraful ulum, the noblest of the sciences. It is afdalul ulum, the most superior of the types of knowledge, and this knowledge it befits and is appropriate to only the noblest types of souls. And so this indicates the greatness of Tawheed from this angle. So that was basically day 15, the reminder for day 15, whose recording was missed. And then we move on to the second of the three parts of today's reminder, and that is the reminder for day 28, which again, due to unforeseen circumstances, we were unable to record or to deliver that reminder. So for day 28 of Ramadan, the point for that day was that Tawheed is Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, just as Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala mentioned. So Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, وَمَا كَانَ الْمُؤْمِنُونَ لِيَنْفِرُوا كَافَّةً فلولا نفر من كل فرقة منهم طائفة ليتفقهوا في الدين ولينذروا قومهم إذا رجعوا إليهم. Let not the believers dispatch all of them together, meaning when they go to a battle or an expedition. If only a party amongst every group remained behind in order to gain understanding, لِيَتَفَقَّهُوا فِي الدِّينِ, in order to gain understanding in the religion, so that they can warn or admonish their people when they return back to them. And this goes along with the hadith of Muawiyah مَنْ يُرِدِ اللَّهُ بِهِ خَيْرًا يُفَقِّهُ فِي الدِّينِ. To whomsoever Allah intends to show goodness, He gives him understanding of the religion. So, from this verse and from this hadith, we go to the commentary of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, and he said, فَالْفِقْهُ فِي الشَّرْعِ لَيْسَ خَاصًا بِأَفْعَالِ الْمُكَلَّفِينَ. When we speak about fiqh in the religion, when we speak about understanding and comprehension in the religion, this is not restricted only just to, the actions of the people or the rulings, the practical rulings to do with practical affairs. Rather, this understanding, when we speak of fiqh, it also encompasses even the rulings pertaining to creed, to aqidah. And until some of the people of knowledge, حتى إن بعد أهل العلم يقولون إن علم العقيدة هو الفقه الأكبر. Until some of the people of knowledge have said, indeed, the knowledge of aqidah, which obviously is Tawheed, is al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, is the greater understanding. And the Sheikh continues and he says, this is true, وَهَذَا حَقٌّ, because you cannot worship Allah except after knowledge of His Tawheed, His Rububiyyah, His Uluhiyyah, His names, His attributes. Otherwise, how can you worship something that is majhul to you? How can you worship something that is unknown to you? And for that reason, Ibn Uthaymeen continues, وَلِذَلِكَ كَانَ الْأَسَاسِ الْأَوَّلِ هُوَ التَّوْحِيدِ وَحَقٌّ أَن يُسَمَّى بِالْفِقْهِ الْأَكْبَرِ. For that reason, the first foundation is Tawheed, and it is deserving to be called Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, the greater understanding. فَالتَّوْحِيد هُوَ الْفِقْهُ الْأَكْبَرِ. Tawheed, therefore, is the greater understanding, as has been said by the people of knowledge, كما قال أهل العلم وهو أشرف من الفقه الثاني الأصغر. And it is nobler than the second minor type of fiqh, which is the knowledge of the rulings of the limbs. Knowledge of the rulings of the limbs. This is known as Al-Fiqh al-Asghar. And as for Tawheed, it is known as Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar. And so this is the speech of Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, explaining that Tawheed is known as Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, thereby indicating its importance and tremendous nature. And then we also have the speech of Sheikh Salih Al-Fawzan hafidhahullah ta'ala, and he says, وَالْفِقْهُ عَلَى قِسْمَيْن. Fiqh is of two types. القسم الأول الفقه الأكبر وهو فقه العقيدة. The first one is the greater understanding, and this is the understanding of the religion, of Aqidah, the understanding of Al-Aqidah, the creed. And Al-Qism al-Thani, the second type, huwa fiqhun amali. This is the fiqh, the understanding of like the practical affairs, meaning the affairs of worship and dealings and so on and so forth. And this type of fiqh, it is no less important. It is no less important. It is the fiqh, it is the understanding of the practical rulings. So, Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, the greater understanding, is Tawheed. It is Ashraful Ulum. It is Afdalul Ulum. It is the noblest and the most excellent types of knowledge. And as for Al-Fiqhul Asghar, the minor type of understanding, even though it is just as important, it relates to the practical rulings. So this now was the reminder for day 28, another angle from which we can see the importance of Tawheed, which is that it has been given the label of Al-Fiqh-ul-Akbar, the greater understanding by certain scholars. So this now brings us to today's final reminder on day 30 of Ramadan. And the reminder for today is to show that there are among the creatures that Allah Azza wa Jal has created besides men and jinn who understand Tawheed, and in fact they understand Tawheed more so than people themselves. And the creature in particular is the hudhud, the bird known as the hudhud, and this is mentioned in the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam in Surah an-Naml. And in this section, Allah Azza wa Jal, He says, وَتَفَقَّدَ الطَّيْرُ فَقَالَ مَا لِيَ لَا أَرَى الْهُدْهُدْ أَمْ كَانَ مِنَ الْغَائِبِينَ. So this is Allah Azza wa Jal mentioning the story of Sulaiman, and he said that the bird was absent. And Sulaiman said, what is it that I cannot see the hudhud? Or is he from those who are absent? I shall certainly punish him. لَأُعَذِّبَنَّهُ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. I will punish him severely, or I shall slaughter him, or he will come to me with, the reason or the excuse as to why he is not present. So the hudhud came after a while, and the hudhud said, فَقَالَ أَحَطْتُ بِمَا لَمْ تُحِطْ بِهِ وَجِئْتُكَ مِنْ سَبَإٍ بِنَبَإٍ يَقِينٍ. So he said that I have come to know something that you did not know, and I've come to you from Saba, from the land of Saba, with some information, with some certain information. And then the hudhud continued, and he said, إِنِّي وَجَدْتُ امرأة تملكهم وأوتيت من كل شيء ولها عرش عظيم. Indeed, I found a woman who was ruling over them, and she was given of every single thing, and she had a great throne. وجدتها وقومها يسجدون للشمس من دون الله. I found her and her people prostrating to the sun besides Allah. وزين لهم الشيطان أعمالهم فصدهم عن السبيل فهم لا يهتدون. And Shaitan beautified the actions for them and hindered them from the path, so they are not guided. ألا تسجدوا لله الذي يخرج الخبأ في السماوات والأرض ويعلم ما تخفون وما تعلنون. So they are not guided to the truth that you should not prostrate except to Allah, the one who brings out whatever is hidden or concealed in the heavens and the earth, and who knows what you conceal and what you reveal. Allahu la ilaha illahu Rabbul Arshil Azim. Allah, who the one who there is none worthy of worship besides him, the Lord of the mighty throne. So this is the speech of the hudhud. And then Sulaiman alayhi salam, he said in return, قال سننظر أصدقت أم كنت من الكاذبين. We shall wait and see. Are you truthful or are you one of the liars? So this is the bird known as Al-Hudhud, and in the English language, in English it is known as the hoopoe bird, the hoopoe bird, Hoopoe, and it has black stripes, and it has a very peculiar typed shape head with a crown on the head. It's very, very distinct. So this bird, so what is it with this bird? We see that Allah Azza wa Jal has ordered his Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to prohibit the killing of certain types of creatures. From Ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu, who said that indeed the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam naha an qatli arba' min ad-dawab. Indeed, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prohibited from killing 4 types of creatures: an-Naml, wal-Nahl, wal-Hudhud, was-Surad, which is the ant and the bee and the hudhud, which is the hoopoe bird, and the surad, which is like a type of bird of prey. So these creatures have been prohibited to be killed. And Ibn Kathir rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, وَلَمَّا كَانَ الْحُدْهُدْ دَاعِيًا إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَعِبَادَةَ اللَّهِ وَحْدَهُ وَالسُّجُودَ لَهُ نُهِيَ عَنْ قَتْلِهِ. Since the hudhud was a caller to goodness and to the worship of Allah alone and to prostrating to Allah, as we see in Surah an-Naml, then to kill the hudhud was prohibited. To kill the hudhud was prohibited. So we see in the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the hudhud is a creature that has intelligence and understands Tawheed and is able to relay to Sulaiman alayhi salam the news about Saba and the queen of Saba and her people, and how they were engrossed in shirk, and how they were not guided, how they were deceived by shaitan, and how they were misled away from the realization of La ilaha illallah. Right? So all of this is from the speech of Hudhud. And we know that Allah Azza wa Jal, as He mentions in the Quran, الَّذِي خَلَقَ فَسَوَّى وَالَّذِي قَدَّرَ فَهَدَى. Allah, the one who, glorified be the name of your Lord, the one who created and then fashioned and shaped, and then who decreed and gave guidance. And this means that Allah created things, gave them their form, and then He also gave them their specific guidance and instinct in terms of their habitat, their behavior, their food, and their specific type of level of intelligence and understanding. So every creature has been given these affairs, and amongst the creatures like the hudhud, we see that it has understanding. So from this story in the Quran about the hudhud, then there are numerous benefits that can be taken about the hudhud and why it has been prohibited to kill the hudhud bird. Because of this reason, because it is a caller to Tawheed. So from those benefits that can be derived about this, which is, first of all, that Allah Azza wa Jal has imprinted and made it as an instinct even in the animals, the affair of Tawheed, and He's made it to be from their fitrah. And we have a general proof for this in the Quran, which is the statement of Allah Azza wa Jal, تُسَبِّحُ لَهُ السَّمَاوَاتُ السَّبْعُ وَالْأَرْضُ وَمَنْ فِيهِنْ, that the seven heavens and the earth and whatever is therein glorify Him. وَإِن مِّن شَيْءٍ إِلَّا يُسَبِّحُ بِحَمْدِهِ وَلَكِنْ لَا تَفْقَهُونَ تَسْبِيحَهُمْ إِنَّهُ كَانَ حَلِيمًا غَفُورًا. There is no thing except that it glorifies His praise, but you do not understand their glorification. Indeed, Allah is Halim, the gentle, the forbearing, Ghafoor. He is forgiving. So this is the first point, which is we see that everything glorifies Allah, and this includes the heavens and the earth and whatever is between them, and everything, even though we may not understand that glorification. So the sun glorifies Allah, the moon glorifies Allah, the trees glorify Allah, everything, the stars, the mountain, everything glorifies Allah, but we do not perceive or understand how that happens. However, Allah Azza wa Jal gave to Sulaiman alayhi salam the ability to understand the language of the birds and animals, and gave him certain types of knowledge that He did not give to other people. And Sulaiman alayhi salam was able to understand and grasp that. So this is the first benefit or first point to be made from the story of the hudhud, that Allah Azza wa Jal has made it from the fitrah of animals that, from their instinct, that they understand, or that they love Tawheed, because this Hudhud indicated that he disliked that they were committing shirk, and he mentioned the issue of Tawheed. The second point from this story is that we see that the Hudhud, the hoopoe bird, it disliked and rejected their prostration to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. And because it said, وَجَدْتُهَا وَقَوْمَهَا يَسْجُدُونَ لِلشَّمْسِ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ. I found her and her people to prostrate to the sun besides Allah. So the Hudhud showed rejection of this, indicating that it has knowledge of the Tawheed of Allah, and that worshipping other than Allah is shirk, whether that is prostration to a man or a jinn or an angel or the sun or the moon or any of the creatures. So this is the second benefit, that the Hudhud showed inkar against the prostration to other than Allah. The third benefit is that it shows that the first obligation upon any caller to Allah is to call to the affair of Tawheed and to show inkar against shirk, just as this bird, the Hudhud, did, because it showed inkar against shirk, against prostration to other than Allah, and then it mentioned the affair of Tawheed. Allah yasjudu lillah alladhi yukhriju Allah yasjudu, that they do not prostrate except to Allah, who is the one who brings out that which is hidden in the heavens and the earth. So it showed rejection against their prostration to other than Allah, to the sun, and that they should not prostrate except to Allah. So the Hudhud understood the affair of Tawheed, and this is the first thing which it raised. And within this point is also evidence that amongst the animals are those who are more understanding and more intelligent than some of the humans who proceed to da'wah and they don't begin with the affair of Tawheed. For example, the Ikhwanis or the Tabligis, they either make the foundation of their call to be politics, or they make the foundation of their call to be the virtues, the fada'il of the a'mal, without beginning with Tawheed first, or mentioning only rububiyyah. So we see in this case the Hudhud, in terms of its methodology and its knowledge and understanding in this affair, it is a'aqal wa aw'a, it is more intelligent and more understanding of this affair than some of those who are, allegedly callers to Allah, from the people of politics, from the people of siyasa, from the people who, go out to do tabligh, as they claim, and they do not begin with the affair of Tawheed. They do not begin with the affair of Tawheed. So this is the third point from the story of the Hudhud, that it is obligatory to begin with the affair of Tawheed, and Allah has even inspired some of His creatures, like the birds, in this case the Hudhud, with this affair. The fourth point is also similar to the third point, is that the Hudhud has more knowledge of the affair of Tawheed than even some of the Muslims, because there are Muslims who commit or who ascribe to Islam, and we find that they fall into actions of shirk. They fall into actions of shirk by either prostrating to some of their awliya, or some whom they take as saints, and they likewise they make tabarruk by way of them, and they do other types of things. They invoke them. So amongst the creatures of Allah Azza wa Jal are those who have greater knowledge of the Tawheed of Allah Azza wa Jal, more so than even some of the Muslims themselves. And in particular, we are speaking about some of the extremist Sufis, the grave worshippers, the Shia and others, whom you can find these types of major affairs of worship being directed to other than Allah. And Sheikh al-Imam Abdul Rahman bin Hassan al-Sheikh rahimahullah, from the offspring of Sheikh al-Islam Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah ta'ala, and he said, فحدث الهدهد سليمان عليه السلام بما رآهم يفعلونه من السجود لغير الله، والسجود نوع من أنواع العبادة، فليت أكثر الناس عرفوا من الشرك ما عرف الهدهد فأنكروه، وعرفوا الإخلاص فالتزموه، وبالله التوفيق. And so he said that Suleiman spoke to the Hudhud, or the Hudhud spoke to Suleiman with what he saw the people doing of prostration to other than Allah. And prostration is a type of the types of worship. And so woe to, if only most of the people knew about shirk, what the Hudhud knew about shirk and rejected it. And if only they knew al-ikhlas, meaning purity in Tawheed, and they adhered to it, and with Allah is success. So here Sheikh Abdul Rahman bin Hassan al-Sheikh mentions how the Hudhud knows and understands about shirk more than what the people knew and understood. So this is the fourth point regarding the Hudhud. And the fifth point that we see clearly is that the Hudhud had ghira, he had jealousy and concern for the affair of Tawheed because of what he said, because he showed rejection against shirk and pointed out what they should be doing of singling out Allah Azza wa Jal in worshipping Allah, in worshipping Allah alone and prostrating only to Him alone. So this explains how the Hudhud has been described with these lofty attributes, that it has understanding and knowledge, that it showed rejection against shirk, it has ghira, it has this concern and jealousy for the affair of Tawheed. And the final point that can be mentioned is that the Hudhud also mentioned the meaning of La ilaha illallah, because the Hudhud said, Allahu la ilaha illahu huwa Rabbul Arshil Azim. Allah, there is none worthy of worship besides Him, the Lord of the mighty throne. So he mentioned the word of Tawheed, the Kalimatul Tawheed, and which means there is no deity worthy of worship except Allah. So again, the Hudhud mentioned nafi and ithbat, the negation of worship for other than Allah, an affirmation of worship only for Allah, mentioning the kalima. And this again is another angle from which we can see the virtue and the excellence of the Hudhud and why it is prohibited to kill the Hudhud. So these are 4 or 5 points taken from the story of Suleiman and the Hudhud, and what it indicates, coming to the actual point of the reminder, which is within the Quran. Allah Azza wa Jal has mentioned the Hudhud, and Allah has created creatures, given them certain levels of understanding, certain types of language, and Suleiman alayhi salam was granted the ability to understand the speech of birds, and he could converse and understand the speech of birds. And in this instance, the Hudhud is a bird that understood the affair of Tawheed, showed inkar against shirk, and that from its instinct, Allah has put certain instincts in animals to instinctually know Tawheed. And likewise, it showed rejection, it had ghira for the affair of Tawheed, it began with the affair of Tawheed. So all of this indicates the tremendous affair of Tawheed, in that even some of Allah's creatures, they can excel over humans in their knowledge of Tawheed, and even their knowledge of its importance, of it being the first thing, and their inkar, their rejection of shirk, which we do not find until even among those who ascribe to Islam, and they fall into shirk, and they fall into even prostration to other than Allah Azza wa Jal. So this is what we can conclude. Our final reminder on the 30th day of Ramadan. It is the story of Sulaiman alayhi salam and the hudhud bird, and what that contains of the amazing affair of Tawheed and its importance, until even amongst the animals or the creatures of Allah, like in this case the bird hudhud, that they glorify Allah, they praise Allah. We don't recognize their tasbih, but they do. They worship Allah, and Allah has given different animals different levels of understanding and comprehension, enough for them to understand the issue of Tawheed. So with that, we'll conclude our last and final reminder for Ramadan of the year 1443 Hijrah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, wa sallallahu ala nabiyyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in.